at 4 o'clock p.m. on January 13th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and for our audience, we're trying something new this year. To start with, we want to have a more informal workshop where we can talk and discuss more with the department heads. Town law prohibits more than 2 town board members at any one time from meeting and discussing. So what that means is that we don't have a lot of opportunity to share with each other and to talk about town business. And then the department heads don't have a lot of interaction time. And I think being on a dais makes it too formal and gets away from the purpose of the workshop, which is to work out the sausage making of town governments. And then the town board meeting is the serving and the eating of the sausage, to put it in colloquial terms. So we added another section that you'll see called discussion point. We'll go through some parts of the business that have to be, and we'll add a discussion point on so that we can discuss issues that we want to either look to make law on or just communicate with openly and in an open format. So with that, let's give this grand experiment a try. And thanks for everything. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Supervisor Evans.
Here.
Councilwoman Cunningham. Here. Councilman Malone.
Present.
Councilman Perticone.
Here.
Councilman Weiner.
Here.
Returning for the town.
Here.
Okay, we have no presentations tonight, so we're going to go right into department head updates. Okay, starting left to right. And let me go back. In this section, please ask all the questions you want. It will be more informal rather than just reading the script. If there's something you want to stop and ask a question on, let's have that discussion now and build up the rapport of what we need to know to make good laws for our town.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know if we were going to do the department head update with our agenda items, but I figured I would just tell you where we are in hiring around the town. Today, we hope to approve 1 custodian. We will have another vacancy, which we hope to approve next week. We also have a part-time cleaner that we're going to be bringing on. That'll fill out our custodial staff, so that's good news. We have posted this morning the assistant building inspector, and we still have the dispatcher posting out there, so we will wrap that up. I think the 24th that closes. Then we'll conduct interviews on those. Other than that, we're still vetting for the assessor, and everything else seems to be going smooth with the new payroll system. We're just still plugging away at that. Put it on hold a little bit while we did the end of year closeout, and then we'll get back to that.
And the final thing is, I don't think I had a chance to tell Jason, I just came out of the interview. I think I have someone for the secretary position. I'll get you her resume after this meeting tonight.
Just one question. Sorry, Jay, custodian. How many full-time is that going to take now? What's that?
Put me on the spot. Essentially, there's 1 full-time at each building.
So I think that'd be 4 full-time.
With this fire?
Yeah.
With this fire? It'll be 4.
We'll have, let me just count them for you. We have, including the one at Camp Eastman, which is technically within DPW. We'll have that one. We'll have one at Town Hall, Public Safety, Library, and Community Center. So there will be 5 full-time, including the one at DPW.
Okay, sorry, it was one off.
All right,
Just a couple updates from last year, just statistics-wise. 963 building permits were issued by our department last year. That's a 13.5% increase from 2023. Code enforcement complaints, we had 1,333 complaints that were investigated. That's a 4.7% increase from 2023. So both places were up pretty significantly with, a decline in the number of people working, as we've had that assistant building inspector position open for a couple months at this point. As Jason mentioned, we are now actively recruiting for that position. It is posted on the website. In terms of business development, we're excited to share Dave's Hot Chicken, which is the fastest growing quick service restaurant in America. They've pulled permits to remodel the old Rachel's on East Ridge Road. I would anticipate early summer, if not late spring, for an occupancy there. Fairly extensive remodel for them to get in there. Our fire marshal's office is rolling out a partnership with the Irondequoit Fire District to help facilitate more frequent fire safety inspections on commercial properties. I had identified that as a deficiency when I took this position, so we should really be up to where we should have been all along with that partnership in place. We're going to be rolling out that program with the other departments in the town. As you know, we have 4 departments. This is a trial with Irondequoit, but our other partners are eager to participate in that. We continue to see an increase in the level of interest from developers and property owners regarding new construction and renovation projects. We've had a few in the last week come in to discuss large-scale developments. They're just not ready for public consumption yet. Once they are, I'll share that with the board. A couple of them will need to come to town board for special use permit. So those are projects that you guys will start to see fairly shortly. And then Michelle will be sharing an update here during our normal business to the town's fence code. That was shared with each of you, but this is after listening to feedback from the residents, from our contractors in town that install fences, as well as staff on the complexity and really unclear ambiguity in the town's fence code. This really will clear that up and make this a lot easier for the layperson to understand, so there's not any question going forward. That's it for me.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Bill. Any updates on the Culver Road, Ridge Road, Atlas with the Starbucks? We've heard some talk about that. Anything new on that, or where are we with that project?
It moved forward. It was approved by the planning board. We've yet to see the building permits issued. That's not abnormal. It's still pretty early. I believe it was their goal to start construction in the spring and have occupancy fairly shortly thereafter.
So is that just the Atlas building, or is it the building behind that also? It's
just the parcel that's the Apple building. The other vacant parcel was previously Verizon.
Correct.
It's still under some semblance of a lease, so that is a separate parcel.
Yeah, we're looking, the property owner's looking at maybe doing a restaurant there. He's talking to several people, so that's tentative right now.
They don't have a demo permit yet, do they?
They haven't rolled any permits yet.
Speaking of demo, we brought it up, John. What about our other demo project down by the lake? Is there any movement on that? Where are we with that?
So currently that is with our attorney's office. They're communicating with the attorneys of that property. There's some back and forth there as we try to not see the town get into a liability litigation position. So that's moving through the attorneys. At this point, it's kind of out of our department's hands while they work through the clarification items they need to work through.
Thank you.
Is this on? I don't hear myself. Okay. As far as DPW updates, obviously we're in the midst of snow and ice season, which we've already seen more snow this year than I think we saw all of last year so far. I know there was some news reports last week about a salt shortage. That does not affect us. Our salt barn is perfectly well stocked, and the way our contract is worded, municipalities, we give first dibs. I think it's the private contractors that they would fall short, but they would always make sure that the municipalities are in supply. We continue, we're looking towards 2025, we're working towards our paving and sidewalks, concrete work throughout town. We do coordination with the utilities and such to develop that plan, so that's one of our top agenda items over the winter. We also are in the midst of a training update as far as making sure our staff and everyone is up to snuff on routes and changes within routes as far as snow and ice, and then we will continue to roll that out into the spring as far as making sure all of our staff are ready and able on all numerous pieces of equipment and tasks that might roll their way. As far as, we also are looking to do our tree trimming bid that we're going to do this year that was budgeted for. So our arborist and tree foreman, Scott, is working on that as well. We also did a public survey. We sent out a survey to the residents surrounding the Bristol playground, just looking for feedback on if we were going to do, when we do the playground update, what types of amenities that they would be looking for. And I'm working on a way to share that with you guys. It's a very Microsoft friendly visual, so I'm working with Kevin to see if we can share that with you guys. So instead of, I could share it right now, I know how to do it, so you would see each individual person's, but it kind of summarizes it nice, so I will get to that to you guys very shortly. I think we've seen all the responses that we're going to. But the summary is a lot of people, the inclusive nature and updates that people are looking for throughout our parks.
And the only other thing that, that's on her agenda, which I got a call on, so I'm bringing it up now, is the wayfinding signs for the bicycle trails that's through. They're also working on getting those signs up. And we worked on the street redesign between Culver and the 590 extension. And so with that, we found that the stop signs reports actually cause people to speed up more as they're trying to speed through. So they made some low-cost, mid-cost, and high-cost suggestions to curve the speed between those roads at Seneca, and I can't remember the other roads down there. So we're going to be approaching that in the next couple of months. Kind of a street redesign, adding features in that will slow traffic down between them.
Like what? I mean, because on Seneca, I know you got those two streets coming in, Woodland, right?
Woodland and
what is it, Run something?
Broadman. Broadman.
Yeah.
So, instead of putting stop signs at those streets there, it'll be a three-way stop then, right?
It would, right, so we're
What
working with Labella. They've provided us with some suggestions, but street trees, striping, other traffic contours.
Crosswalks.
Crosswalk marking, that type of
I just think
wayfinding
if you
signs.
could put a stop sign, because, those neighbors have been talking, to at least they have, what's the street closest to the roundabout? Is that Woodland? I don't know what it is.
Yes, yeah, that is Woodland.
That's where I think they speed when they come off the roundabout. And
Okay.
they shoot down Seneca, I think that should be in consideration.
No, I don't
mean,
want
I've
to.
never, we've always put stop signs up to slow traffic down. I've never heard of anything, to take the place of stop signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that stop sign and speed bumps, what they're finding is that they may roll through the stop sign and speed faster to get through the next stop sign. So it's kind of counterintuitive, and behavior-wise, looking at the behaviors of drivers, they don't recommend using stop signs all the time.
When we just did that down there,
Keswick.
yeah,
Yes.
over there, we put
Right.
them in over there. But they never, the only thing I'm asking, this is the first time I've ever heard the suggestion, don't put stop signs.
They're just saying that, the people and what supervisors, and that people, when they are approached by a new stop sign, that they typically, after the stop sign, they're looking to make up that time that they perceive they've just lost.
Because those streets are really bad.
No,
Yes, I absolutely agree.
They're highway, they speed, I know, because I've parked there, watched, to the
Yeah.
neighbors.
We also recently have,
Yeah, I know, they shoot through there pretty good, so I understand I think there's only a sidewalk on one side of Seneca.
right, so the crosswalks, we're looking at it.
Yeah.
I think it's,
It's just the first time I heard a suggestion other than a stop sign, that's all.
no, understood.
Yes, so we're trying to do both behavior and also looking at the behavior and the effects of anything on public behavior. And so that was, I was an advocate of speed bumps, for example, and finding that speed bumps do cause the opposite behavior that we're looking for.
I don't know, I'd speed over a speed bump before, it wasn't fun. So, okay, thanks.
No, anytime.
How about any updates on like the backyard project or Camp Eastman or?
Do that now, or? Oh, you wanna do that now?
Yeah, we had it for a discussion point. If you want, or we can do it now. Good.
No? Okay. As far as the backyard, where we're currently in the project, as far as the status with the contractors, I would call that 99% complete. We're only waiting on a few minor landscaping additions that will happen in the spring. But other than that, the sidewalks, everything is done. As far as going forward with the backyard plan, we are in talks with our playground installer as well as the manufacturer that creates the equipment, and that's where you guys have seen the sketches that I provided. So we are working on them to fine tune how they would lay out in the back and such. The 2 to 5 unit, have you guys seen this one? Yeah, the 2 to 5 unit. So we're looking for this to feel kind of like custom a little bit to town. So that's where we've added trees, features, and we're also exploring the option between the rubberized surface or turf. What we're learning is that turf has a longer warranty right now, and so we're thinking about trying turf back there just because of the longevity of the material. We're also exploring the band shell ideas, layout, the aesthetic we're looking for, and what each of those band shells might look like as far as cost. We do have we're talking with RCP structures, and they had a fact sheet that they shared with us as far as the more popular band shells and what those cost and materials wise. And then we're working on like estimates about what that would cost to actually install, especially with what type of amenities. I think we're honing in on, we're trying to decide what type of electric needs would need to be, as well as lighting. So that's
So
where
what's
we're
the vision of the band shell long term? What would we be thinking about for that?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, that they like having a venue in the back. So I've gotten anecdotal that they like the trees for the summer, but people pretty much prefer the backyard from the survey that you did, Shannon.
There we go, okay. Yes, thank you. And some of the feedback that we've received from both vendors and guests of the market is that, people are now getting really excited about the prospect of being at the market building and the backyard year-round, as opposed to moving from Columbus Way back and forth. For us, that's also exciting because we'd really like to be able to kind of set roots at the market building. It's difficult to do that without having any venue over there where we can have music, because that's what's drawing folks to the markets. So on the side of recreation and special events, what we're really excited about and looking forward to getting in there, hopefully sooner than later, would be the stage band shell that Aaron's talking about.
So those are the two priorities. And the other thing is, while I'm at the market, I want my kids to have something to do. So the two priorities became the playground and the band shell. And
Yeah, I think those two things, it gets the farmer's market back there, and then it also creates that sense of mom and dad can be doing something separate from their kids, and then there's multiple avenues for, people to come together. So that's where I think.
yeah, and then on the construction side, we did put in conduits, so the wiring that goes from Kings Highway to the police station can be placed underground. So the conduit is in place now. So should we decide to do that in the future, And while we did the backyard, we put the conduit in with a little extra cost, so that we can drop those wires down and get rid of those poles, so it can be a clear venue.
Any other questions? Do you want me to
Camp
keep
Eastman?
going? Yeah, you want me to keep
Yeah.
going? Camp Eastman, okay. Camp Eastman, the ADA restroom, the interior finishes are currently being worked on, so the drywall paint is complete. What they're working on now is the fixtures, electric plumbing fixtures, and then that restroom will be wrapped up, as well as the same crews are also working at the court restroom. So the court restroom is trending, is slated to be done first, and then the restroom will be after. But that's, both of which will be in the matter of the next couple weeks. As far as the new cabin, the foundation, piers, and frost wall are poured, and the framing of the walls is underway right now. So if you go down there, you'll see the framing is done, and they're putting up the sheeting right now. And also the electrician and the HVAC plumbing is also doing the underground work to get the utilities to the cabin.
In the spray park there.
The spray park is 100% done. Yep.
The bathroom,
The bathroom is, will be,
not the
yeah,
court.
that's the court bathroom will also, they're setting partitions, fixtures now, and that should be done in the matter of the next couple weeks.
What about the bathrooms here?
The bathrooms here, we are undergoing the hazardous materials survey to compile a report, so we will know exactly where different materials are located within so then we can go forward with the construction, knowing what hazardous materials are here.
Are in the bathrooms? Did you do an asbestos, that's what you're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
Did you do a survey in there?
We did a preliminary one, but now we're looking to expand it within the whole footprint, so that if we're looking to demolish the whole area, we can know and act accordingly to get those materials out of here, to be honest, yeah.
Because I remember when we renovated upstairs, when they did the bathrooms upstairs, I remember it was probably the most simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of a similar bathroom as now.
Yeah, it's that, and we're also being, we're testing, obviously, to get a really good grip on where it is, but some of the tiles in the drywall might also.
So what are they taking? They're looking at that stuff now?
Yeah, they're taking samples.
Taking samples
They're
of
taking
tile,
samples, and then
wall tile and everything like that?
Yep.
Has that come back yet? You got
No,
any of
it
that
has
back
not.
yet?
No, we have not seen those
So
results yet.
where'd they find the asbestos now, just on fittings, pipe fittings? Okay.
So when we did the initial report, when we did the initial investigation, they looked within the limits of the construction project. Just
Right.
what that demolition will look like, but we are gonna have a more robust
Okay.
report that will show where it is throughout.
So you're just waiting for those results, right? Okay.
Yeah, and part of the thinking is that because we want to do some of the work here on HVAC, sound system, that we should look at the whole thing.
At one point, wasn't there a PO issued for some HVAC work in this space?
In this room?
Yeah.
I don't think we got to the point where we issued a PO, no.
All right.
We just talked about it.
We
yeah.
have,
Put the unit out in the hall.
right, we do have an estimate, we do know what it would cost to take the HVAC unit from within this room and put it out in the hallway. But then we also, we want to piggyback that along with the audio update as well. Anything else?
Any other projects?
No, I feel like that's keeping me busy enough right now. Yeah,
Can I just go back to salting
Please.
and plowing?
of course.
No question how hard our staff works. I'm just wondering if it might be beneficial. It seems like the first snowstorm comes and we all forget, number one, how to drive, and then number two, when things are salted, when they're plowed. I'm
Sure.
wondering if it might be beneficial to push out on social media. A lot of that information is on our website, and especially about sidewalk plowing. Just reminding residents about when we salt, when we plow, what sides of the sidewalks we're plowing, et cetera, just as a reminder.
Okay.
No problem.
'Cause I know they're all out there. I'm walking and at the gym, and I see the trucks going by, so I know.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah,
Yeah,
like I
I
said,
think
we
it's
try and
just a-
keep that stuff up to date on the website, but yeah, we
Yeah,
absolutely
or at
do.
least maybe sending people to the website since that information is there. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so recreation, everybody knows that recreation is a little bit of organized chaos, and our extra chaos for January is generally an influx of folks coming in after the holidays to kind of work on their New Year's resolutions and get back into the gym, get back into their social networks, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got that going on, and it's also a big month for membership renewals, especially like insurance-based membership renewals. So we've been pretty busy at the desk with those sort of things going on. And then speaking of the desk, our front desk coordinator, Tiara, will be going out on leave very shortly because she's going to have a little baby boy in the next couple days or so. So we're pretty excited to get another new member of the rec family, but we'll miss her for however long she needs to be out to adapt to the new baby. So we're kind of picking up and picking up the loose ends on that and getting prepared for that to happen. Big event stuff that's happening is obviously Winterfest is upcoming. So Saturday, February 8th is our annual Winterfest celebration here, Town Hall campus, 11 to 3. We are excited that we will be expanding the Winterfest back towards the backyard project and what Aaron was talking about. We'll be able to utilize the market building and some of that space there as early as Winterfest. So we're pretty excited to have that kind of expanded capacity and looking forward to a good event this year. And then moving forward, even though we're talking about Winterfest being in a couple weeks, we're really focused on summer planning right now. Summer camp registration and then the nitty-gritty details of the actual camp themes and activities and that sort of thing is going on now. Also, July 4th celebration is right around the corner too. So really kind of gearing up on planning for that festival too. So we're kind of a mishmash of everything that's going on now, but also always kind of looking towards the future and the next event and activity coming up and trying to sink our teeth into those things as well. So.
Any update on the Hoochie
The Hoochie-Nanny, yes, actually there is going to be a press release probably coming up in the next week or so. I just heard from Sean on my way over here, so we're going to be coordinating that with them. And they're going to be doing some announcements. They have a pretty exciting main stage act announcement that they'll be making, but we're going to wait until the press release for them to actually put that out to the public. But it's going to be a pretty cool opportunity for Irondequoit, and we're pretty excited about it. I think people are going to be very surprised when they hear the big name they're bringing in.
Can we do this as a press conference instead of a press release?
They want to do a press conference in March,
Okay, March, okay. And the town board's invited,
of course.
okay. And we made the correction to Irondequoit instead of Rochester?
I wasn't a part of that.
Okay, all right. So one of the conversations I had with Sean was, he put Rochester just to get people who are oriented where we are, is that the word Irondequoit has to be on anything going forward in the future.
You listed it as Camp Eastman, but then it said Rochester.
Yeah.
The next month, we're looking to heat walls.
There we go. We're looking to replace all the copiers next month. The lease is coming up, so we got a fleet of 14 we're turning over. And the other big project, we're looking to start to put out RFP for sound contractor, someone to do the AV work throughout the town. We got a lot of pieces that right now, some. I'm almost done, so. Just to help, work with the projects we have, especially like this room or break fix, we have a hole there right now, so looking to get a contractor in here that we have on, that we can just, rely on to do that work.
Well, actually, I have a question. Last week in the news, Webster, the fishing. So can you speak to the safeguards that we have in place and updates in the future, ongoing training with staff, that kind of thing?
Always happy to do that. Some of that I would take offline. I wouldn't want to discuss in the open.
I totally understand.
As part of an initiative. And a lot of times, like in these conversations, I don't know how much. I could go on about technology for forever. But I don't want to, it's not everybody's thing, so I don't want to bore people. But the town will be moving to passwordless authentication. Actually, I'll be reaching out to you fine folks here soon to set up passkeys to access your information. So I come from a security background, so it's kind of always on my foremind of things. I don't know exactly what happened to Webster, but it sounds like it was more of a phishing process issue. And I've spoken to the comptroller too. Those are stuff that always needs to be revisited and thought about, coming up, analyzing your process and going over it and seeing how that fun stuff, where the holes are, because there always are. Threat actors are always on the lookout for where the weak links are. So really a big thing would be getting the phishing resistant authentication, and that's something we'll be able to reach by this spring for an organization this size. That's pretty good. I could certainly go into more offline if you want to.
No, that's good. And then insurance-wise, I know they were saying that part of that was covered under insurance. Can anyone speak to that?
Yeah, we actually increased our cyber security insurance this year. I can't remember what the number is, but we took it to the next step. And we were well insured for any loss.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's all I don't need to get into the nitty-gritty. Just let me know it's being done. We're good.
Okay, so big projects in the comptroller's office. We're working on year end, preparing for the audit, which will take place in March. Bonadio will come in and do our annual 2024 audit. We are beginning our new CDBG year, so applications will be out by the end of the month for the upcoming program year. We also have a resolution on for next week to call the public hearing for next month for the public to come and have input into that process. And as hard as it may be to believe, we are already starting to look at the 2026 budget, trying to get some preliminary work in before we start the main process.
And since we are on that, we talked about Diane and I meeting and to look at a schedule of starting the formal process in April. And after going through it and talking to Diana, we want to give you more time to review the budget and more input into the budget process. So starting in July and August doesn't give the board that much time, especially with the work that we have to do. So we're looking at the budget now preliminarily. Then in April, we'll be ready to go to department heads scheduling. And what that does, it will give you more time. It's been ruled that for the people at home, that the budget process begins with the supervisor, and it's a political statement of what the priorities of the supervisor or the head, the governor or the president is. Then it goes to the legislative branch, so they can add in their priorities and mix it up. And then it goes to final vote, which should merge those two. And for the people at home, that's the process that has been developed in this country and is reflective in all the levels of government. So I think that it's right to give the board more time to add in their priorities and to review what's being planned. So that's why we want to move it up from July and start in April and build a budget from there and hopefully have it approved before any elections. And that way the budget doesn't get tied up in any political process. It's open, it's clear, and all the cards on the table, and it's approved. So no matter who wins the election, it's in place, and that's the transparency that we're trying to get to. So it'd be a benefit for the town, and not a benefit for this political party or the other.
Good afternoon. I'm sure everybody heard about the dog incident this past Friday. Just a quick update. Everyone's doing okay. And at the media's request, we just sent out a redacted version of some of the body-worn camera clips. The health department is still conducting tests, and we should have the results within the next day or two. Our newly promoted sergeant, Matt Barrett, recently completed his supervisor training, and he's now assigned to the overnight shift and is doing a great job. Our newest hire, Officer Lauren Patain, completed her training at the academy, and she started her first phase of field training on the afternoon shift, and she's slated to complete training to be on her own around mid-April. She's also doing an excellent job as expected. We're continuing to focus on different training opportunities, and just last month, we were able to put together a peer support team, which has been a long time coming. We have 3 officers assigned, and Lieutenant Murphy is overseeing that. And this is just an additional resource that's available to the officers. And the team will assist with coordinating different wellness events and efforts, and they'll be there for the officers to just provide extra support when needed, whether it's job-related or something personal going on in their lives. That's all I got.
That's great.
One second before you start. And one thing that we want to do this year, I feel that we're about 6 police officers short minimum. I think it's between 6 and 15 for the amount of calls that's been getting, that the calls received, and the overtime that our guys do, which means that they burn out fast. So I'm going to be doing the federal appropriations again, looking at it. So one part of the budget that we want to look at is how do we hire more police officers? That may be a reduction of overtime and shifting that overtime to warm bodies. So that's one of the issues, or one of the things I need your help to solve, and how to get more police. And that comes with more cars, more radios, and everything else. So that's one of the budget things. Any ideas on that? I'm open to hear. There's a federal grant that pays for half the policemen for 1 year, but then I think in the second or third year, it's fully on the books. So one of the reasons why we want to cut costs and adjust is number one, to raise. I think we effectively raise most people's rate to $20 an hour to living wage coming in. So next is the next 2 tiers, mid-level managers, and then upper-level managers, but also hiring more police officers. So while you guys go through the day, if you hear a grant or you come up with an idea, please send it to me so we can solve that problem.
Oh, in the clerk's office, I'm happy to report that we are fully staffed and things are working out well. We're extremely, right now, just collecting taxes, and more taxes.
Okay. Do you want to go?
So we've got just a few projects that we are working on. The short-term rentals, which I know is on for discussion. We've had a staff member working on looking at what other municipalities in the state have been doing. So I think that's coming to an end. I think she's gathered a lot of the information for mine and Andrew's review, which we should have done with very shortly now. So that's one of the long-term projects that we are working on. Of course, we're here for whatever questions department heads send over to us. We've got several issues that we're working on with the various department heads to try and keep things moving smoothly. And I think those are the big ticket items I think that we're working on at the moment. Oh, and we're going to be shortly looking at this possible amendment of the peddling and solicitation, which is also up for discussion. So we just started our research on that as well. So that's our other kind of big project for the next little while.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have some minutes that we need to approve for our regular town board meeting. I'm sorry, I'm skipping. Madam Controller.
Okay, so in this report, I'm presenting a preliminary look at the 2024 financial results for the town as of December 31st. The 2024 books will not close until the end of February to allow for the receipt and processing of outstanding commitments and to account for and properly book the remaining revenue that is owed to the town. Again, during the February and March town board meetings, I will present the most current 2024 preliminary results. The town's auditors from Bonadeo Group will present highlights of the audited 2024 financial statements and audit report upon completion of the audit work. The 2024 financial results as of December 31st. 100% of the year has elapsed and the town's total expenses are on par at 99.7%, a sum of $44,965,000. Encumbrances are $1,219,000 and actual expenses total $43,745,000. The actual expenses alone equate to 97% of budget. Encumbrances are still an important part of the town's outstanding commitments. The general fund expenses are slightly higher than budget at 101%, or $29,914,000. The actual expenditures are 98.8% of budget, or $29,253,000, and 2.2%, or $661,000, remain for encumbrances. The excess expenditures can be attributed in large part to ARPA funds expended and not contained within the amended budget due to the financial system transition. This will be corrected before the February report. Overall, the expenses in the highway fund are below budget at 98.5%, a total of approximately $6,125,000. The costs in these funds result from considerable expenses for salt, gas, and paving as anticipated. Library expenditures are 90.1% of budget, a total of $2,573,000. Expenses in the sewer fund of $4,113,000 are at budget at 100%. The stormwater drainage expenses are approximately 96% of budget, a total of $900,000. Regarding the entire town, revenue and appropriated fund balance of $39,232,000 or 94.2% has been documented to date. The general fund has recorded revenue of $24,300,000 or 91.3% of budget. Real estate tax of $12,790,000 has been collected. 128% of payment in lieu of tax revenue of $298,000 has been received. 8 months of sales tax revenue in the amount of $4,662,000 or 69.6% of budget. The AIM payment of $613,000 has been received, and mortgage tax for the 3/4 of $826,000 has been received. Additional revenue to be recorded includes 6 months of franchise fees, 4 months of sales tax, and 3 months of mortgage tax. At month end, the library has confirmed revenue of $2,852,000, 100%. 99.3% or $6,001,000 of revenue has been recorded by the highway funds. 102% of sewer fund revenue at $3,924,000 has been verified. Stormwater drainage has received 102.7% of its budgeted revenue at $965,000. This concludes the first preliminary financial report for December 2024.
Any questions? Okay, Madam Clerk?
At this point in time, we'll do the review of the agenda items for the January 21st, 2025 regular town board meeting.
Well, first, do we have any minutes or,
Not to be approved until next.
not, I mean, just any questions on the minutes?
Are there any questions or comments for the minutes? Item number 1, filling a conservation board vacancy.
Explanation?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm happy to say that this is the last position on the Conservation Board that will complete a full board. We conducted an interview with Mr. Benzion Van Arnold, who is an Arundequoit member, and we would recommend his appointment for a 2-year term.
Item number 2, approving the appointment of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you. This is in regards to our Historic Preservation Commission. They had a member term expire, and they conducted interviews. The previous town historian and the vice chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission conducted interviews, and they would like to recommend the appointment of candidate Ryan Pearson to the town board, and Ryan would serve on the commission through December 31st, 2031. I think it's a 7-year term, like the planning board. Zoning board, sorry.
Item number 3, calling for a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend Town Code Chapter 235-69 fencing.
Thank you. This is in regards, I'm very excited to present these updates for the fence code. As you know, that if an application is consistently presented to the zoning board for the same variance request, it means that they teach you in class that it's time to update that code. So we've had numerous variance requests for specifically side yard fencing that has been added as an update within the code, as well as other sections as you guys all received via email.
Thank you for all that information, too, to be able to go through that.
Is there anybody have any questions or comments on it, or?
It's just timely. It's so funny that, here we saw a lot of comments about fencing and then bam. So thank you for that quick work in
Yeah.
a day or so.
Yeah.
Well, I remember doing it a while ago, and then we presented Labella to rewrite our town code, and then since we kept, this is maybe one of the first years I've seen numerous fence permits come in that need variances. During the winter months, usually we're really slow regarding fence permits, but they're still continuously coming in. And I asked Kate to help out and get this moving forward so that we could at least get started before the season actually begins.
Perfect.
So this is a huge, huge update.
Next.
Item number 4, scheduling a public hearing to provide opportunity for public comment on Arundecoit's Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG.
Explanation? It's on.
Sounds like it. Okay. So this resolution would call for a public hearing at the February Town Board meeting for the public to have an opportunity to speak about the CDBG program, current projects that we have going, or to suggest new ones.
Now, one of the things that we did last year that was successful is have a town board meeting member sitting on the committee to review the process. So if any one of you guys want to sit in and let me know who, so we can, so when we schedule, how we can schedule it. Does you want to do it again, Peter or John, Grant?
I'm interested if no one else is.
We can have more than one. It's-
Did you say yes to it? Okay, all right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next.
Item number 5, authorizing adjustment of the mileage reimbursement rate for 2025 to 70 cents, consistent with the rate allowed by the U.S. Internal Revenue Service.
Explanation?
Okay, so this is an annual resolution to adjust the mileage rate to be consistent with the IRS rate for 2025. The rate is increasing by 3 cents to 70 cents per mile. This will be for use of an employee's personal vehicle for town business. We generally do not have a lot of mileage claims paid out. We do have some pool vehicles, and we do suggest that employees look to use town vehicles for any trips that they may need to make.
Any questions? Next.
Item number 6, authorizing the acceptance of a monetary gift from Crime Stoppers to the Arundecoit Police Department.
Explanation?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Crime Stoppers is a great partner to law enforcement, and we're looking to accept a very generous donation from them of $4,000, which would go towards any expenses related to our canine community engagement efforts.
Oh, that's great.
Item number 7, authorizing change by raising dog licenses fee for dog license registration.
Explanation?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We're asking for the board's approval to raise the dog licensing fee for spayed or neutered dogs from $9 to $10, non-spayed or neutered dogs from $18 to $20, and replacement tags from $3 to $5, and this would bring the fees in line with other agencies and municipalities.
Thank you. Any questions?
How do we get the message out that people need to register their dogs?
One of the things that we're looking at doing, now that we have the other person coming on board, is to push it out on social media. I have a series of media releases coming out, so the bigger picture how do we get out information is I'm sending them all the media out schedule, and routinely we're going to start sending out, we need to publish this or push it out. So social media right now is our best avenue. Since we don't have a local newspaper to put it in. And then wherever we can get a newspaper and just trying to push it out. The newsletter will be starting again, so through those venues. If you guys can think of any other venue that we miss, let me know.
Item number 8, declaring certain equipment surplus property.
Explanation?
Yes, of course. This is our normal surplus resolution, so this is to surplus equipment that has been replaced. We have received their replacement, so we're looking to surplus this to get this on the online municipal auction.
Next.
Item number 9, authorizing the supervisor to enter into various contracts with vendor for town's 2025 Winterfest celebration.
Explanation.
Yes, thank you. This particular reso would allow us to move forward with the Winterfest contract schedule, and right now, we are looking to be able to work in agreement with Heberly Stables for the horse-drawn carriage rides for Winterfest.
Sounds like fun.
Item number 10, authorizing the changing of February Town Board meeting date from February 18th to February 25th due to New York State Association of Towns meeting conflict.
So every year, the New York Association of Town puts on a great 3-day workshop that I highly recommend all of us, as many of us, go to. And so this year is for doing the town board. So usually there are some valuable information that I like to bring back with me from that. So moving it would serve two purposes: informing you and be able to attend the board without, attend the meeting without any issues.
Item number 11, authorizing the supervisor as delegate for the purpose of voting at the New York State Association of Towns annual meeting and attending the annual New York State Association of Towns training.
So every year, there's, I have the privilege this year of being a delegate, determining which resolutions we brought forth for the Association of Time for their lobbying efforts. So this is you authorizing me, and then my alternate is Peter, to vote on those resolutions for the town so that they can lobby the legislators, Senate, and the governor's office for the benefit of town governance. And when they finalize those resolutions, I'll get them to you.
Item number 12, approving the special event license for Yellow Jack Racing Fleet Feet Cupid's Cup 5K Run/Walk.
An explanation?
So this is their annual event. This is, I believe, their 9th year holding this event. We've received all the approvals, so we're just asking for the board approval for that.
And let me step back on and I'll be paying my own way to the New York Association of Town. The reason I'm doing that is to leave those training funds if someone else wants to attend. Okay? Madam Clerk, we have one item requiring board action.
Did you want to open up discussion now, or we're going to do the board item first?
Let's do the board item now and then we'll go to discussion.
Item number 1 for board action, authorizing the provisional appointment of a custodian.
Explanation?
Motion.
Motion to adopt? Second?
Second.
Explanation?
As I discussed earlier, we have 2 vacancies for custodian. We did post those publicly. It's a competitive position for civil service. The list has been exhausted, so this will be a provisional appointment. We hope to appoint Mr. Jesse Woodruff tonight and bring another candidate on next week.
Any questions or comments? With that, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The resolution is adopted. Congratulations. All right, so now we're going to move into a new phase called discussion points. And the first item of discussion is kind of free for all. The first item is we want to revisit the Monday night workshops. Since we tried this for a year, and what this does is it greatly condenses our calendar, making Friday kind of the last time for posting. This weekend, our clerk works Saturday and Sunday, but moving it that one day actually effectively takes 4 days away from the staff to do work. So do we want to revisit the Monday workshops, or do we want to stay with the Monday workshops?
Well, I am certainly concerned that our staff is working on the weekends. So, and I just wonder too, for the public, if it's confusing having a meeting on Monday one week and then Tuesday the next week. I kind of like that consistency, but.
Well, I think that, you know, Grant, you
Yeah.
can speak to this. You have a standing meeting every month. It's the second Tuesday of every
Right,
month, right?
right,
So
yeah.
if Monday's not working, we have to go,
To their
he's
Wednesday.
gotta be there.
Yeah.
We'd have to go to Wednesday.
Wednesday or a Thursday.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'd have to go to a Wednesday.
Help my schedule
They'll
out.
give
Thank
it
you.
even another day, but,
Yeah,
you know.
John.
I mean, he has, I understand he's got work, he's gotta do what he's gotta do, so it can't be a Tuesday.
So it, you know,
Well,
Good point,
I
John.
did
Thank you.
move, you know, I teach part-time as an adjunct, and they requested my schedule, and I moved my class from the nights that I used to Tuesday nights, so, which would, starts 5 o'clock.
So you moved it to Tuesday?
I moved it to Tuesdays because
we had the Monday.
We went to Mondays.
We went to Mondays.
Right.
Will Wednesdays work for you?
No, because
No.
I moved a commitment from Tuesday to Wednesday. I mean, Tuesdays of,
So I have a question. Is this discussion for everybody or just for
Everyone.
board members?
Yes.
Everyone.
Okay, so working Saturday and Sunday, it's stressful. I was here in the office on Saturday, and I was working at home on Sunday trying to get this packet posted. Losing that day is a huge strain because I don't get completed resolutions until later, Thursday, if not Friday, and then I'm working all day Friday trying to get them done to have them posted. So, and I don't believe I'm the only one that's struggling with having this done by Monday. I believe there's other departments that, you know, they would have Friday to get their resolutions done instead of, you know, having that one day that they're losing. So whatever you decide is fine, but I will tell you it's a personal issue with me as far as working Saturday and Sunday for waiting on other departments or people to get resolutions to me.
So I certainly do not want you working Saturday and Sunday. But can staff move back their deadlines so that they could adhere to your ability to post things without having to work on a Saturday and Sunday? I mean, do we need to keep staff's work backed up so that they complete the job in time for you to do it?
So my deadline is Thursday at 4 o'clock. That's my deadline, so I have all day Friday to work on it, have it posted by Friday.
And we still have things coming in on Friday.
Friday morning, Friday afternoon.
Make the deadline Wednesdays, and
So if they, we can. That's, I mean,
at some point, you just, I mean, I've done this before, you just have to say no to people. Would the board support?
Okay, we'll take this in this next staff meeting and look at what we can do to adjust.
so I'm also wondering too, the Tuesdays, if we
We,
switch
we can, because he teaches.
every Tuesday?
In the summer, yep,
Every Tuesday.
for
So wait,
14 weeks, whatever the summer semester is.
so we have board meetings we have a regular board meeting on Tuesdays.
It's,
So-
yeah, it's it starts at 3 o'clock and runs till 5,
Oh, got it, okay.
7 o'clock.
yeah.
so is there any way to push back the workshop until like 6 o'clock? Instead of 4 o'clock on a Tuesday?
7 o'clock would be better for me on a Tuesday, to be honest with you. 6, you're asking a question.
Staff?
Yep. I mean, I'm just, while we're talking about it, yeah?
May I? I did have a question as to maybe there's a historic reason why we have meetings on back-to-back weeks. Perhaps separating them throughout the month would give more time to prepare, rather than us just rehashing
Right.
the following week what we
Right.
just talked about.
John, you're the oldest person on the board.
It's always been the second Tuesday. In fact, I know we've changed the day before. I believe we had board meetings on a Thursday before.
But I
One of
think
our
it's-
members at one time was in the state assembly at the time, so he was on the staff, so he couldn't get, but again, we changed it always to the second Tuesday. You know, at that time, we all were coordinated with
But
one another.
Jason's also suggesting back-to-back, 2 meetings
Like in the same
in
week.
2 weeks.
Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
right.
Well, we have them 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Just from my department's perspective, I get a lot of requests to hire in a timely manner, right? So they try and rush those in to make sure we get it on the board meeting the next week. If they were separated throughout the month, it would be a lot easier to hire people.
By separating, what do you mean?
what
Like make it on the
is-
first and third versus the second and third? or
Right,
something?
first and third, second and fourth, whatever. Just an idea.
I think it
That
makes
is
sense.
normal every other week. Yeah.
Okay, so how about if the Josh and the chief and Diana will look at this and give you guys kind of a layout? So 7 o'clock on Tuesday would work for everybody?
Just, how about planning and zoning? I don't remember what nights they are.
Well, yeah.
Oh, what night? You're doing it on a Tuesday? Tuesdays are clear.
Okay,
I'm usually Monday, Wednesday night.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so we move the 4 o'clock to 7. Will that work for everybody? On Tuesdays?
Another board meeting a week after.
2 weeks.
Or yeah, now we're talking about doing
Separating
two
out.
moves then. So change the workshop
Workshop time?
and the day of the board meeting.
You guys let me know what you want.
There wouldn't be a financial report available the first week. There's no way closing a month, there's no way I can turn it around.
Well, I think that was just a suggestion. I mean,
That's under, yeah.
I think,
That's why we're
I
here.
think,
Diana, it's
that-
understood.
That's why we're here.
so I
That's
think
right.
at this point, the idea is out there, so let's let staff talk and figure out, yeah.
What the options might
work.
be.
Yeah.
Let me
what might
verify
work.
with RIT too, what the schedule is for that class, because
So the options are Tuesday at 7, every other week as opposed to back-to-back. And what's the other option? There was one
I
with,
think it's twice a month rather than every other week, but with a week separation, because if you do every other week, technically, we will
Right,
have
you'd have 3.
13.
The week in between.
and what did you say about the report, Diana?
Not the first week.
For the financial report, there's no way in the first week of the month it would be available.
Okay. Not the first week of the month.
I will say the financial report, with all due respect, is redundant to us. You do it basically twice for us. I mean,
Yeah.
To have it just at the town board meeting with the draft given to us beforehand would be acceptable
Yeah.
to me.
So a draft to read for the workshop, she doesn't present it, and then present only on the workshop.
Board meeting.
No, not even.
Not even at the workshop, just at the first.
Not at the workshop.
Well, it can come out when the packet comes out. I can read it just as well as you, reading it to me, and then the public can hear it. I'm not trying to be, you know what I'm saying? Although I do, always love having a story read, but
So the draft is read by the town board at their leisure, and then we'll X that out of the workshop meeting, and then we only present it in the
town
workshop.
board meeting.
And if there's a question, we can talk about during the discussion period for the budget. Sounds good?
Good start.
Okay. All right, ready to move on to next one? Next one is the short-term rental legislation for the timeline. Everyone get the timeline that I sent them? Do we have a problem with that timeline, or should we make any adjustments to that? That way by April, we have a written law. And I think we looked at some of the discussions. Do you need any more feedback from the board or any questions of the board about what they're looking at for direction.
I mean, I think the board needs to decide a direction for us to form any kind of meaningful draft. You know, we've got some thoughts, but we really need a concrete direction. I can't write any
Yeah.
legislation without a concrete direction.
Well, first of all, do we want to do short-term rental, number one? Right?
Mike.
I'm sorry, do we want short-term rental? I'm just throwing something out there, or do you want it, remember I said in the, you know, you want it 30 days is the minimum you can rent out? I mean, those are things we're gonna have to talk about. I understand, Bill, yeah, you need, you know, do we want short-term rentals? Do we want them in
How
town?
many towns prohibit short-term rentals?
It's starting to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you a number. As he said, it's starting to grow.
Yeah.
Certainly, the prevailing opinion's starting to be
Yeah,
that these
sure.
are really undermining neighborhoods and the costs associated with them and housing prices, but I don't think there's a database that's gonna give you a real number.
Yeah.
So one of this, I'm sorry.
I mean, so for me, my opinion was if we're going to allow them, it's under a limited basis. I do think they're starting to, you know, we're a real neighborhood-oriented town, and these, you know, non-owner occupied residences, I think, are a problem. And, I mean, regardless of some of the perceived tourist rental, you know, or income, excuse me. I mean, I think, you know, the nature of our housing, except for the waterfront, is that, you know, it's neighborhood housing. And we certainly have a decent amount of hotels in our town, you know, up on the main road where people could also rent, and I understand that may not provide the efficiency level that some people want, but at the very least, I mean, the things that I mean, no one came once we had input in favor of short-term rentals. I mean, there was a couple people early on, but no one came back to state that they were in favor of them, and we were only presented with the problems associated with, you know, short-term rentals, and no one presented us with any of the benefits, and including the, you know, the tourism revenues. Now, maybe if there was some form of hotel tax, which I think the state has been throwing out, but, you know, it's a possibility. But I still don't know that would offset the cost to our support services and neighbors and the things that we have going around here. I mean, the one thing that I was willing personally to start to think about a concession was with the people that absolutely live 100% within the
Yes.
house while the rental occurs there. You know, they rent a room. You know, the true nature of what a bed and breakfast was when it was initially created. But what I really want to see is that, you know, people can attest to the fact that they live there, but they don't actually live there. There needs to be some real teeth in our code and ordinance that really shows that people live there. And I know I've said in my correspondence, but I have 2 houses in my neighborhood. They're not short-term rentals, but where people have attested and signed that they live there, and they do not live in the houses. And, you know, they might wheel a garbage can out every once in a while and mow the lawn, but they don't live there. So, you know, to me, you know, it's 2 more families that can't occupy, you know, meaningful residence within our houses. And these aren't, you know, if you go to Zillow and look at I mean, these are houses that are appraised at, you know, near $300,000, you know, ranch houses that are like the most sought-after type of house in all of Arundecoit. And I would love to see neighbors live there, you know, rather than, you know, voids in my neighborhood. And I mean, the only concession that I saw that people attested to that were willing to make were people that actually owned the house. And I know there was some thought about houses that maybe someone lived within a radius, but I think that that's just fraught with enforcement, inability to enforce those rules and regulations. And I mean, I just don't see a scenario. I'm more leaning towards where I was and I'm a purveyor of Airbnbs you know, when I go on vacation all the time. But there are, you know, resort areas and things like that where you can go through 1-week rentals and things like that. But it would definitely, you know, to me, owner occupied, something with a stipulation for the number of days, so it's not even just a weekend, you know, Friday, Saturday, maybe 3 nights minimum. But I'm tending to, after, you know, completely about face what my opinion was if we first started this, but that I wouldn't be willing to entertain prohibition.
During the open houses that we had, those that were there that were in support of short-term rentals were those that actually lived
Right.
in the rental property.
Right.
So, to your point, there are people out there that are in favor, but they are mostly in home. They're actually living in the home. I think that, I would not want to say no to that.
The only one I know of, remember Dick was here, and
Yes.
his house is immaculate.
Yeah, it is.
By that
Absolutely.
house, it's nice and clean, but that would be the only concession that I would make, and then I think it would save a lot of, I feel sorry for these people, you listen to them, they really have these parties next, I feel sorry for them, and I remember, Jet, we had that problem on, Rock Beach there a few years ago, remember that one? I wouldn't want to be living there, and I don't think the owners really cared what went on at that house. And, these young kids rent a house, they don't want to smash up their own house, and they party all weekend, which, but that's the one I remember, and I feel, I was close to that neighborhood, and I remember it was just, the spillover was pretty bad, so, again, we all know the bad ones are gonna ruin it for everybody, so I kind of agree with maybe Pete and Ann that, if you live there, it's one thing. Again, we have to enforce that.
Yeah.
There's a problem with that too. We have to enforce it. Do you live in the house? Everybody's gonna say yes, so I guess.
One of the things I've asked B&H to look at is severe penalties. There is some legislation that New York State passed, so we have to make sure that our registration process is locked down as soon as possible, because after New York State passes their law, then we can't adjust our registration process. So owner occupied, you must live in Arundecoit. The other thing we looked at is limiting the number of permits given, period. So we say we can only allow 15, and that's it. So they pay for a license $1,000 annually, whatever. It becomes like the taxi medallion. Only have so much period, and only in these locations. Limiting the number per street. So we can say 1 per street, 1 per mile, with some suggestions made. So those are the big items that came through.
If I could, I have to agree with Pete. I have one across the street from me, and the owner does not live on the premises. And I'm gonna tell you something, the parking is a nightmare. On the weekends, I can't get out of my driveway because I got the both sides of the street parked up. So I think parking needs to be a consideration here also.
So we have to write the law in a way that gives the police the enforcement ability to enforce these things, and code enforcement the ability to shut them down if they're not appropriately registered.
The parking thing is one of the things I did put in my email also. I would like to see parking on premises, not in the street.
Not in the street.
Thank you, Pete, 100%.
But if we eliminate it completely, we solve all these problems.
Well, John, I'm with you
We don't
there.
have any problems.
Yep.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well-
And if we just limit it, you have to live in the house, it's one thing,
Yeah,
but.
and not in Arundecoit.
You gotta live on the premises, right, Ann?
Yeah, well, yeah, right, not in town, you gotta live in the house.
You gotta live in the house.
I don't know how many, I wouldn't know how many of those, but, when you go to, I agree with you, when you go to, I go to Saratoga, I go to Vermont, all those places we rent, they're breakfast, so they all live on the premise, they all live in the house. And I believe me, at 10 o'clock, you can hear a pin drop in those houses. None of us are there,
Right.
So, but that does make a huge difference, I'm certainly sure it does. You'll never have to worry about that in my house, believe me.
And a few of these short-term rentals that we're aware of as far as Public Works, we're starting to notice some of them, we maintain the sewers in these areas, and you can imagine what they
Yeah, right.
don't care
Yeah.
about. Yeah, so, yeah.
Well, to that point, you talk about the sewers, right down to the trash.
Right.
I've had trash cans tipped over, I've had trash in the middle of the street, because they leave on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, and they don't care.
Yeah.
The trash is out by the curb, trash pickup is until Wednesday or Thursday, it sits there, and then the animals get in, now you got a bigger problem. So again, there's a lot to consider here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other comments on short-term rental, or?
Just the,
enough direction.
Go ahead, Ann.
I was just gonna say, reacting to the number, per year total, the number per street, it's hard not having any kind of registry right now to put a number on it, right?
Yeah.
To know how many.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised, I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead. I was
Yes, so-
surprised when I did Airbnb search how many there were in Arundel.
We all,
Those are the ones we know about.
We all were,
There's a
yeah.
lot of them you don't
Yeah.
even know about.
yes, I go on there like every other week. So I say between 440 and 400, you know. So there's over 20 or 30 sites that you can rent through. And it's amazing that I think it's a larger number than we think.
I mean, to me, like, the difficulty is writing all the rules and regulations to make it permittable. It's gonna be difficult, and the rule to prohibit is simple.
None.
well, it's like anything else, you can write it, but you gotta enforce it. You know, we all know that, bottom line. Yeah.
And to enforce, we also have the penalties. That
Well, and then generally enforcement means that a wrong has occurred, so the damage is technically already done at that point. So you're,
we want to prevent them from being done.
suffer.
What's the
Probably
remedy?
done repeatedly.
Oh, John,
Saying no.
You know, the city of Rochester has
I
its,
know
its point system for commercial occupancies. You get a certain number of points and you're gone. Like, they take away your C of O. That's a consideration.
well,
You know, with the state's registry that they're gonna be doing, we don't have an answer as to how that would conflict with anything that we're gonna do. Or what kind of registration fees that they're gonna look to do. Or if that negates what we're going to do. There's no answers there yet either.
I think the state, Association of Towns said that the state fee doesn't affect the fees that we charge.
Right, we could still charge, but, you know, at that point, we don't know what their number's gonna be.
Right. Any other comments on short-term rentals?
Well, are you seeking some consensus?
I mean, to write anything meaningful to put to draft, to have for public comment, keeping in mind that our extension of the moratorium ends in mid-May.
Yeah, I think your direction so far gives us the ability to go back and craft something and give you a draft.
Well, what are we asking for, a draft of,
The draft is easy if we don't do it.
if we don't do it?
That's an easy
Don't
one.
allow it, right? That's it. I'm okay with that.
I would just, you know, revert back to the survey results that you all saw and the conversations that you had both here, you know, at the market. We do have a few folks in town that run a reputable short-term rental business, so I don't want to discount that. But, you know, obviously the survey results are prevailingly negative for the impact that it's had on neighborhoods. So, you know, at this point, what my department, the town, is looking for is really direction from you folks and what way you want this to go, so that we can write something to have public comment and kind of move this forward.
I just look at how hard it is just even to reinforce the house flippers and stuff. I mean, people say they're not building stuff out unless they have a dumpster out in front. I mean, you can't even walk into their house to see, the inspections. I mean, and I'm
But we can change that by code also, giving our code enforcement police the ability to walk and look at those renovations. So that's something that we can change.
yeah, but we don't have it currently. I mean, we've been talking about a number of zoning changes to give, or, law changes to give, building code enforcement more teeth.
One of the questions you posed was a good one, is can we do inspections on these properties? This would almost undoubtedly allow for that to happen, because you're basically creating a lodging situation where we would have to consider fire safety and life safety regulations for that type of thing. Whereas right now, as you said, we don't know what they're doing inside the house that has a dumpster out front unless there's a reason for us to go in. So this would at least give us that opportunity to kind of legislate that.
I mean, a lot of, I don't see how it's second means of egress out of some of these rooms might be possible in some houses, and, things like that. You'd want to have some sort of code compliance.
Yeah, and undoubtedly, we don't know, and if someone's renting a room, more than likely, they don't have that egress, so. And then how does that fall back on the town if we've allowed registration for that property and something were to happen? I don't know the answer to that, but I don't want to find it out the hard way.
So were we asking two versions of the law to be drawn up, prohibition and owner occupied?
I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, I think so, Pete, yes. Either none at all, and if we're gonna allow them, only owner occupied.
Yeah, and
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I, you know,
Yep.
I do feel badly for those that
Yeah.
are doing it and doing it right. But I totally understand all of the rest, you know, I totally understand that.
And I'm an impartial person here, but just from an economic standpoint, the town really does not see, and this is the point a lot of people have made as they've come in and given public comment, we as a town don't see a lot of positive financial
Right.
from this. However, we see all of the negative costs associated with it, whether it's the police, code enforcement,
Sewer.
DPW.
I mean, I would rather cut to the chase on this thing. I mean, for me, you guys to write a law that meets all the statistics that, or the wherewithal to allow owner-occupied stuff, I mean, that's a, you know, what are we gonna, I mean, how, it's gonna be a tough hurdle to get over for me to say yay. I mean, I mean, we're gonna spend a lot of time writing a law that's gonna have to have some significant teeth. I think it has to have code enforcement inspection, it has to have registration, it's gotta have, you know, the requirements for refuse disposal, parking on site, site plan approval, if you will, or building plan approval. All of these things are gonna be a fairly complicated and in-depth law for something that we've already heard people don't want. And I know there's a few people, and I appreciate them significantly, you know, but those are a minimum now. I mean, the people that live in their house while they're there, or stay in their house while they're living there, it's a minimum. And, I mean, are we gonna write a law for, I mean, we saw 3 or 4 people out of the 50,000 people, or however many households that we have in Arundecoit. Is that what we're really looking to do?
Thank you. Yeah.
Nature of Airbnb's business is a vacant house, the number of rooms, how many people can you put in there?
Yep.
You know, how many, you know, how many beds, how many people stay there? That's what they're there for.
Agreed, Pete, 100%.
And I love Airbnb, so don't get me wrong, I just don't think they're right for Arundecoit.
Okay.
So for me, my vote is a law that prohibits Airbnbs in the town of Arundecoit.
John,
Yes, I agree.
Grant,
I can agree with that.
Ann.
Again, I just, you know, the few that are doing it right, but I understand the flip side totally. So I can go with it, but I just, the people that we did hear that came to talk to us.
No, you're right, Ann.
And said that, you know, I am doing this, I am doing it right.
Right. We're disenfranchising them. I understand your thought and your
yeah.
concern. I get it.
So I think.
But for the larger good, I think that we've got to make a decision here.
Yeah,
I really do.
understand.
You know, and
I
stand
get
behind it.
I get it.
All right. All right, so the next topic. So the next topic that we have is solicitation. And I want to go to the police to start on that discussion. Solicitation.
I had somebody come to my door the other day, I saw it on my Ring camera. They did have a badge, I couldn't tell who they were. They walked around my house outside, ring their doorbell, and no one was home. My doorbell started talking to them, and they walked away.
Well, and that's the thing, in talking to some residents in the past, they find this to be disruptive because they don't expect it. And then that results in us getting a call for suspicious activity, anything from annoyances, trespass complaints. We believe that if we're able to have Town Code Chapter 167, peddling and soliciting amended to eliminate the door-to-door services, this will reduce nuisances and enhance residents' privacy and safety. Also, we believe this will help safeguard elderly residents who may be targeted by dishonest individuals.
I think it's the same kind of situation.
It is.
Either we do it or we don't. So.
I think there's a greater good in it.
Yeah, I think we should not, because I buy my Girl Scout cookies the website now. You know, still goes the same Girl Scout.
And that's my
Yeah,
concern.
exactly. Girl Scout mom, yeah.
Bring the sheet into work, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Andre,
So-
my concern also being an Eagle Scout like yourself, that's going to cut that out. And I'm feeling about the youth here. They go door to door to sell what they sell.
But do they do
And then- and
that
then
so
honest-
much anymore?
Well, I've had my neighbor, she's a Girl Scout, she comes sells Girl Scout cookies.
So I believe
you know.
there's something in code for nonprofits.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
All
So
right.
we'd have to look into
That
the code,
helps.
but there is something
That
for
helps.
nonprofits. So Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts,
Okay.
it's all of the profit businesses. In previous years, we increased the fee that we charged them, thinking that it would deter some of them.
Right.
We were looking at increasing the fee again for this year, and it's still not deterring people.
And there's also in that code about interstate commerce. I don't think it has anything to do with our town. So I would say nonprofits and everyone else is no.
I mean, I think there's enough on your Facebook feed, on your internet feed, your email feed, that you can be solicited enough virtually that you don't need to be solicited at your own home.
I'm not even sure the schools allow it any longer.
These companies just hire people to go to the house, knock on the door, try to sell you, siding, roofing, windows, and that. I flushed out a couple over the summer. I asked them if they had any idea. They don't even know. They drop them off and they start knocking on doors. And I agree, the safety issue, and people aren't answering doors to strangers nowadays anyway, so I don't know even how well they do sell in door to door.
And then we also had a couple of assaults. People coming up to one door and just walking in there.
Yeah.
So I think by eliminating that, it gets rid of one more avenue.
So I will say that in the clerk's office, we have received one application this year for a solicitor. The application has not been approved or denied, but there are 4 different Walker applications associated with that as well. So just something to consider when we do make the decision.
Or we can revoke it whenever it be effective, whatever the time that we pass the law.
That is correct. It's just fees that are involved, so we'd have to discuss on what they get back, if they get any.
How long is the permit for? Is there a time limit?
So for the actual organization, it's a year. For the walkers, it's every 3 months they have to renew.
Is that a new fee every 3 months?
For the walkers, yes.
It'll save a lot of,
Well, I mean, whoever got in early is going to have a little special dispensation, but I mean, we're just going
I think
to
it
have
has to be effective, so,
Yeah.
And then we can hash out the rest of that.
Okay, and I think, is there anything more on the capital improvements update, or did you give the? Okay, any other topic from the board members that's concerning that you want to address, or you want to raise, or?
these are the ones for
Well,
me.
what about the pawn shop law? I mean, did that get finalized?
You want to check that one? Which one? The pawn shop.
Secondhand dealers.
Secondhand dealers law was pending, there was a moratorium.
There is a legal part of that, especially with an existing secondhand dealer. Let me get the facts of that, and I'll send that out to you. There was part about being grandfathered, et cetera, but I don't have the facts at my fingertips right now, so let me, if you push that out to you in a day or two.
We've talked about in many years, the periodic update of our codes, rules, and regulations and laws, and I know we have people, attorneys and maybe planners and engineers looking at it, but are we trying to, try to revise the whole entire thing and then plop it down? Are we going to go bit by bit, or, it seems like, I think we've been attacking some things that are, more preeminent, but, what is the schedule for?
Yeah, we're about 50% through the first draft of the building code part. Some things like fences and the other things that we can act on immediately, we'll bring that to you. But as soon as the first draft is done, we'll get that to you as soon as possible. So that's where we're at right now. Looking at maybe finishing the whole process by the fall. And that's just the building code. Then we can start on the criminal code, part of our codes and enforcement.
I guess the short answer to your question is we're doing it piece by piece. So the first piece of that is the fencing code, which we had the most complaints, variances, et cetera, on. We're going to continue with, it's all 235, which is what you all authorized to be rewritten by Labella. So we're gonna see some more pieces of 235 shortly, and then the larger portion of that should be by the fall. So the entire 235 section will be rewritten by then. And that's,
Well, the nature of my comments that I wouldn't be averse to seeing it, like, beating the elephant a bite at a time. So
Yeah.
if there's pieces that can come out
and
early,
that's,
as long as it doesn't conflict with something you may want to do in the future,
the intention is to do that so that it doesn't seem like we're trying to jam it all at once, because there's a lot to that and it affects a lot of things in this town.
Sorry, Bill, do you have an idea what's next? Now, we're doing the fences, right? So what do you think's next up? Do you have an idea, Michelle, what that might be? Just
short-term rentals now.
Yeah, not
Well,
short-term
yeah,
rentals.
short-term rentals.
We gave you an easy answer to that one.
I was made aware that they are working on the site plan process.
Okay, all right.
Trying to,
Trying to make it easier for
All right.
folks to move projects forward, because
Okay,
it's,
so
it's a
that's
somewhat
what's
convoluted process
coming
now,
up
and
on the site
trying,
plan. Okay. Okay,
and then we'll look at the greater portion of it after that.
sure, okay.
So as far as the site plan, is procurement gonna be part of that process?
Procurement
Process
is
for-
not.
No.
Yeah, so procurement, we're gonna just take on as, as a standing operating procedure. We already passed the, daily record, but I'm looking at, length, requirements for apprenticeship, PLAs, and trying to balance, union and contractor and non-union work, finding that middle ground. I have some legislation that I got from, I think Long Island, passed some things that were acceptable to both union and non-union contractors and workforce. So those are things I'm looking at, because
I think the union, non-union issue will be taken care of once it's competitively bid, to be honest with you.
Right.
Jerry. Once you get enough people bidding on the work, it's about the bottom dollar here.
correct.
Union or not, it's about the bottom dollar.
Yeah, if we're
Well-
bidding work, it's got to be prevailing wage,
That's
which
exactly
tries to
right.
equate,
That's
or
exactly
equate the
right.
wage between union and non-union shops.
Doesn't matter union or
But-
not, it's the number at the end of the day, competitively bid.
Yeah, so maybe I should repeat that, competitively bid, that's,
Competitively bid.
that's, and so it doesn't favor one side or the other.
100%.
It's competitive.
Because it's the number at the end of the
It's
day.
number at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean, I also think there's, provisions in there too, which, as I understand it, like, a lot of times we have to interview every single respondent. We can't shortlist things. Our professional services thresholds are super low, based on thresholds that were set 20 years ago, 30 years ago, who knows? Those type of things need to be looked at. I think also to provide,
You mean the limit of what we can spend, or what do you mean by?
as I understand it, like, professional services, we have a cap of $5,000 before you need to go out for RFP. I mean, that's sometimes, so onerous to try to get multiple bids. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but and I'm talking for professional services that are very specific to a need. I mean, sometimes there's attorneys that we need, there's, emergency engineering or things like that.
So we want to up those numbers. And while we on that, I would like to also up the numbers for what the department heads can spend. Because I think it's right now it's $2,000 or less than that. It's less than that,
You can't do anything for $2,000 anymore.
right? So
Get a car repaired for $2,000 practically.
all right, so I'll be coming back to you probably next month with a number to increase the amount that the department heads can spend without coming back to the board or coming back to me even. So that's what I like to do for the department heads.
can I go back to just a question on building codes? Is that something that towns, municipalities look at on a rotating basis over a number of years?
So we're talking about, I think, two different things here. One is our zoning code planning, that's
Sure.
235, and then the other is fire prevention and building code, which is 98. That is basically set at a state level, and we
Okay.
adhere to theirs.
Okay.
The only thing we could do is have more strict building and fire prevention codes. We can't be less than the state code.
Sure.
So we just choose to adhere to the state code.
Okay, all right.
And
That's
that
helpful.
generally, my experience is only invoked under fire sprinklers and a few things like
Yeah.
that are beyond the building code. But the building code is really getting fire sprinkler heavy now, where most of the old town ordinances that required fire sprinklers are basically building code
We will have an update to the building code shortly that deals with parking garages. It seems like it's not something we deal with. We do have a few in town, but it is required by the state at this point to update our code to reflect that. So that will be coming down the pipe here. It's just a matter of fitting that language into our code.
The building code's updated almost every couple of years,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a full set of updates to the building code shortly.
but definitely the planning and zoning code needs to be modified and updated, and I think that's what the town is focusing on.
Yeah.
I guess, so that my question is, is that something that we should put on a rotating basis over, a number of years?
It's been talked about. I think it's finally, I think Ben made, Bill and
Yes.
Michelle
right.
and you guys, and with LaBella on board, has been making it a priority, and it's always something that we kind of talked about, and there's always been little dink and dunk changes, but
We're definitely behind our peer municipalities in terms of updates to it. This is a code that's probably from the early 90s. We're way behind in terms of updates. It should be more often than that.
it's been talked about,
It's a
but we've never had the staff, I think, that's really made it a priority, and I think that I commend the people that are board now that are doing that work to
Right,
get this thing stuff
absolutely.
done.
I'm just wondering if it makes it harder or easier, on everyone.
Well, it's certainly been difficult with things like short-term rentals. It was
Sure.
never even thought of in our current code, so it was the reasons for the moratorium, which was a good thing at the time to kind of put a stop to everything and figure this out. You can't predict everything, obviously, but I think if we can update to current standards, then we can talk about, well, maybe every 4 years we look at this, or 5, whatever that may be.
Okay.
And the last thing that we didn't talk about is that we're looking at consolidating some of our procurement, since we're talking about procurement, for supplies, uniforms. And the idea is that we are buying a lot of small eaches all over the place, which in my opinion is more costly. So by consolidating, it saves us money. And I'm also talking to fire and the school districts about even consolidating further from them about reducing it. And Diana is working at that as a point person with their other business leaders and controllers. So department heads, give me a number to bring back to the board that you guys agree with for purchasing, for procurement. And I think we have a good direction from your input about where to go for the other laws, and we rolled it out as much as possible. Does anyone have any other questions or any other comments? Was this format more helpful for everybody?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Just need to make sure we have room at the table for everyone. Yes.
Okay. With that, this concludes our workshop meeting for 13 January 2025. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 21st at 7 p.m. We have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.